What's going on, family? How is everybody doing? Please get your libation. Please get what you need to get yourself through the show. We're going to try to move through it today. I always say that. One day I'm going to really mean it. But we're going to try to move through some stuff. So please, let's get the housekeeping out of the way. Before you do anything, please, for me, please hit that like button. Hit that like button like you coming in, you turn it on the light, turn it off. If you forgot to do it, hit that like button for me. Appreciate it. If you have not subscribed, subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell so that you get notifications. Just smash that bell for me. I'd appreciate it if you're in here and you have not hit the bell. or you have not subscribed, of course, if you want to donate, donatebrown.com or patreon.com/ycarnell. Give me your email address, please. I don't even really use it. But you can go to subscribe-to-brown.com and do that. I would appreciate that as well. So I have a way to contact you, which is not going via YouTube or anybody else. I would appreciate it. And as we do, do not forget, ladies and gentlemen, that we have a book coming up. I've already heard a lot of talk about the book. People are already into the chapters. I'm still reading Uplifting the Race right now, but I'll get to it. I will get to it, of course. They were her property. Of course, I'm gonna get to it. I'm doing a book club. We will be discussing this book as we do our political education foundation. We will be discussing this book on January the 30th. So on January the 30th, that is the last Thursday in January, we will be having our book club conversation. Please take notes. Put little notes in your book. Put little notes as you go. That makes it so much easier when it's time to do the book club to really hit on what hit you. So please do that. Please, 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 and please try to share the video and all of that good stuff. I would appreciate it. Fam, I hope everybody is doing wonderful. Listen, we got something to talk about. And I want to talk about, I try to frame conversations, our discussions that we have, because that's really what it is. I talk first, and then when you call in, you talk, and we have a discussion. So, how many of you saw the news story? I think, I'm just wondering how many of you saw this? The Hebrew Israelites are suspected, the black Hebrew Israelites are suspected of being involved in that, or actually setting up that whole. Because when I first heard it, it was like a UPS man got shot and the police were shooting people, and it was like this was a horrible tragedy and a debacle. And then you see where when you add to the story, we start to see something else was going on in terms of the shooters, in terms of who they were. That's not who I suspected necessarily that they were. But we start to see a lot of stuff starts to kind of unravel. Jersey City shooting, suspect linked to black Hebrew Israelite group. Now, this is still under investigation. We don't know, so I always caution people when something is still being investigated, do not take what you are being told as the ultimate truth, because we don't know yet. We know what we're being told. I would love to hear from some fam in New Jersey, and tell me in Jersey City or wherever this is and where this happened. Can you tell me anything about this? I would like to know. I would like to hear from people who are around that area, in that vicinity, ADOS people around there, or black fam or black allies in that area. I would like to hear from you about this. But I think, regardless of what we find out, we're going to have to take a cautionary tale. And that's why I call this show, What is Your Solution? And we're going to come back to what they are alleged to have done. Now, we don't know if they did it. They are innocent until proven guilty. But there is still a danger here in terms of how we do politics, because they said, for those of you who don't know the backdrop, I read a story today, and they said the man, and he got with the woman, and then they got evicted. But before they got evicted, he was in the room all the time spouting Bible verses and yelling, and he had his own kind of interpretation of them. I don't know if this is true or false, but it sounds very odd. And so we have to talk about something, because when I see this shooting, it kind of connects to me with what some other people have been saying in terms of what they view as solutions that aren't really solutions. Do you all remember in the Martin Luther King book that we read for the conference? Where do we go from here? We're talking about chaos or community. Do you all remember in there he kind of said that LBJ was right in terms of what are you going to do with all these riots? Yes, riots happened, and they were important in terms of the politics that they created. But what Martin Luther King said was, you're still 14%, and the military got all the bullets and all the guns, and that's never changed. Now, let me just say one thing. As we go into this, I titled this, "What is your solution?" Because I think we should ask that question. Because when Antonio and I first started doing videos, way back when he would call in and an army was there, way back when, the question that we were always tasked with, how many fam go back? The question that we were always tasked with, well, Yvette, you're just a negative naysayer, and so is Antonio and the little I baby. All of y'all are negative. What is your solution? Because what we had done was take on do for selferism. But we didn't do it in just a talking way, or we were just being loud. We took on do for selferism and said, here's why it doesn't work, and here's why you can have no black business without black politics. We're not opposed to black business, but you can't have it without black politics. That's what we said. In order to frame this, understand this. But we were barraged, and we said, listen, we can't have some kind of immediate solution to racism. You asking me to cure racism in a 2-hour show or an hour and a half show. We can't do that, but we can figure it out. So, and we said, we know it's a political solution. That's what we said. We know that for sure. It is a political solution, and we have to figure out how to do that politics. And we decided that politics was reparations as the heartbeat of a black agenda. Now, I say all that to say, there are a lot of people offering two things are happening. There are a lot of people offering solutions that aren't solutions. They look like solutions and they sound tough and rumble and tumble, but they're not solutions. They're not solutions. That's the first thing that's happening. People are not offering solutions. The second thing that's happening is people are offering bad solutions that will not fix the problem. So as we go through, I want to go through some of the crux of some of the things that have been said, that I've seen in the comments and people are saying, and nobody is asking people. We're not telling people that stuff that you talk about won't work. And we're not demanding of people the same thing that was demanded of Yvette and Antonio. What is your solution? You got no face over here talking on YouTube saying that won't work. There are 9 states where you can't do Democratic down ballot. Well, what is your solution? And are you going to come from behind the Wizard of Oz curtain and tell it to us? Are you going to do that? I have no problem with documentaries. I know I'm going on a speech right now, but I don't care. I have no problem with documentaries. Antonio and I are working on something right now. We'll see how it goes. And we didn't have to do a $200,000 Kickstarter from you to do it. We didn't do that. And we'll see how it goes. But we understand that political education is one part of it. Eventually, this train got to move somewhere. Eventually, this train got to go somewhere. Eventually, you have to have a destination. We can't have it all. We can't be 20 years in and still doing documentaries. We can't be 20 years in and still be doing Hidden Colors 45. What are we going to do? If you don't like the way we're doing it, that's fine. We can have a conversation. Everybody can have a conversation. We have always been open to criticism. I am open to criticism. Antonio's open to criticism. But we have to talk about what black power looks like. It don't look like you sitting around telling everybody, don't be scared. Y'all got to not be scared. While you live good. That's not what it looks like. It's easy to say that when you're well off. Or when Black America has given you something to make you well off. It's easy to say that. I want to know what your solution is. Because if the only thing that you're doing is getting black people upset and mad, and you're not giving them any way to constructively deal with that anger, even if you're not giving them any way, and it's fine to start with, education is imperative, so it's fine to start with whatever you start with. But after a while, you have to move in a certain direction. Okay, what can we do? Now, I'm going to talk about why some things that look like a solution, now I'll get back to it, but I want to start off and talk about why some things that look like a solution aren't a solution. So one of the things you have people say all the time, and some of our people love to say it, is, well, it's a revolution, and the only reason it's not is because y'all is just scared out here, and we ready to take it. You ready to take it where? Because I want anybody who hasn't watched this. I think it first aired in 2014. I watched it when it aired. America ain't playing games. See, the thing is, we have to understand timing, right? There was a time when one thing worked that don't work. There was a time when the French revolted, the French Revolution. There was an American Revolution. Right now we have what's called a surveillance state. Well, what does that mean, Yvette? What is a surveillance state? Well, what does that? I know some of you know, because we have the most educated and well-read people, I think, in black politics, bar none. But I want to talk a little bit about, and this was under the Bush and Obama administrations, to be fair. But I'm not talking about rightness or wrongness. I'm talking about right now what that looks like in terms of what you planning on doing and what you always in the comments talking about you gonna do. So let's talk about it. NSA collecting phone records of millions of Verizon customers daily. Now understand, whatever movement you gonna do or whatever thing you finna do where you finna pop off revolution, you French on the Bastille Day or whatever you finna do, or you finna be the Black Panthers, whatever you finna do requires communication. It requires communication with each other, right? You're going to have to talk to each other. You're going to have to communicate your plans and everything to each other. What does it mean if the person that you're trying to circumvent is listening and has access to all your communications? Are you going to send messenger pigeons? Are the messenger pigeons, are they going to be involved in the revolution? I just want to know what you're talking about, because it's not making sense to me. So let's just read a little bit of what they say. You remember, this was Glenn Greenwald, Edward Snowden, the leaks, and all this stuff happened back then. And this is let's just back up a minute, be patient, and remember what happened. The National Security Agency is currently collecting the telephone records of millions of U.S. customers of Verizon, one of America's largest telecom providers, under a top secret court order issued in April. Now, mind you, this was during the Obama administration, so it's not, but remember what we learned back then. The order, a copy of which has been obtained by The Guardian, requires Verizon on an ongoing daily basis to give the NSA information on all telephone calls in its systems, both within the U.S. and between the U.S. and other countries. Let's go to the next quote, shall we? The document shows for the first time that under the Obama administration, the communication records of millions of U.S. citizens are being collected indiscriminately and in bulk, regardless of whether they are suspected of any wrongdoing. Think about that for a minute. Just let it hang on your spirit. The secret Foreign Intelligence Service Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, granted the order to the FBI on April 25th, giving the government unlimited authority to obtain the data for a specified 3-month period ending on July 19th. Under the Bush administration, officials in security agencies had disclosed to reporters the large-scale collection of call records data by the NSA. But this is the first time significant and top secret documents have revealed the continuation of the practice on a massive scale under President Obama. Now, I'm going to continue to get into it, fam, but I just want to, one of the things that we have to do when people tell you about their proposed solutions, we have had all kinds of things in history, but timing is everything. We have to ask them, how are you going to get around that? They collecting all calls, calling all. They collect. How do you plan on getting around that? Or does it just make you feel good to kind of pound your chest? I ain't scared. Y'all scared. I want to. Is Guantanamo Bay still open? Is it? Do you think they won't send your little Negro butt over there? Do you think so? I'm just asking, because you have to be very critical of the solutions that you say you have. You say you have solutions. I want to know what you're going to do. I want to know what I want to know what your plan is. Because we're in a different world. Everything is very sophisticated because there's a globalism and terrorism and all this stuff, and everything is very sophisticated now in terms of what they collect. And nothing ever happened with that. It never went away. They never stopped. So do you really believe what you say to me on YouTube, or what you say when you say, Yvette, I don't know, you want to work within the system. I don't think we can do that. I'm going to pop off. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And one of your legs shorter than the other one. Even if this was well back in the 1600s, what you going to do? Flat-footed? I see you. Y'all just, see, the problem is, Yvette is and when I talk about how sophisticated it is, I mean, again, we have to kind of go back. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you to, as any kind of leader or general or anybody in battle, you haven't even investigated the specificity and the tactics of whatever you're trying to do. I don't know what kind of madness you may or may not be engaged in, but how are you not? How do we let these people just talk? And they obviously have not at any point in time seriously engaged, seriously looked at the specificity, seriously looked at what they talking about. You gonna run and live in the woods somewhere? I'm gonna go off the grid. Can you kill a billy goat? A wild pig? Anything? Can you plant a seed? Yvette, see, I'll figure all that out. But let's just go back to what, the communication piece is so good. Let's just go back here for a second. Let's just go back here. U.S. British intelligence mining data from 9 U.S. internet companies in broad secret program. Okay, let's look at it. The National Security Agency and the FBI are tapping directly into the central servers of 9 leading U.S. internet companies, extracting audio and video chats, photographs, emails, documents, and connection logs that enable analysts to track foreign targets, according to the top secret document obtained by the Washington Post. Okay? Now let's just, what does that look like? What they got a plan? This is the richest country in the world and the most powerful military. You didn't think they have a plan? Upstream program. The slide shows PRISM as only one part of the NSA's system for electronic eavesdropping. The upstream program collects from the fiber optic cable networks that carry much of the world's internet and phone data. The underlying map depicts the undersea cables that connect North America to the rest of the world. Oh, it looks complicated. Look at that. Look at that chart. Look at that. Look at this. Is the FAA 702 operations. 2 types of collection. They got your upstream, the collection of communications on fiber cables and infrastructure as the data flows past. Okay, you got your. You should use both. This is from the NSA. Somebody got it and gave it to the Post. Collection directly from the servers of these U.S. service providers, Microsoft, Google, Facebook. I don't think Pal Talk is around anymore. AOL, Skype, YouTube, Apple. That's a lot. That's a lot of information. I don't know how you're gonna really be using that pigeon up. You're gonna be using that pigeon up because you're gonna have to. Acquiring data from a new target. This slide describes what happens when an NSA analyst tasks the PRISM system, that's the name of it, like the headline said, for information about a new surveillance target. The request to add a new target is passed automatically to a supervisor who reviews the selectors or search items. The supervisor must endorse the analyst's reasonable belief, defined as 51% confidence, that the specified target is a foreign national who is overseas at time of collection. Got you another chart. After the communications information is acquired, the data are processed and analyzed by specialized systems that handle voice, text, video, and digital network information that includes the locations and unique device signatures of the targets. Prism collection data flow. And let me just tell you, while we're on this and you're looking at this little flow chart, let me just tell you that they would love to get some Negroes caught up in this. Get you caught up in some stupid stuff. And they've been waiting. I mean, there's some people who've been waiting to get us caught up in some stupid stuff. And y'all, well, I tell you what I do. You got your NSA over here. You got your FBI. You got your CIA over here. You got you got a whole protocol exploitation over here. You got, it's a lot going on. Each target is assigned a case notation. The Prism case notation format reflects the availability confirmed by the post reporting and real-time surveillance, as well as stored content. Stored content too? They got your stored content too? And then you can search the database. Searching Prism database. On April 5th, according to this slide, there were 117,675 active surveillance targets in the Prism counterterrorism database. Now, mind you, that was during the terrorism, but mind you, this is the era of black identity extremists. So who you think finna be in there now? The slide does not show how many other internet users, and among them, how many Americans have their communications collected incidentally during surveillance of those targets. You see, for those who look back at the history of revolutions and talk about what they gonna do and wax nostalgic about a period they weren't even in, you have to ask them tough questions. How? And I'm really not being anyway. I mean, I'm being kind of funny when I say messenger pigeon, but I really want to know, like, what are you talking about? Well, I can't give you the plan. What are you talking about? You're not making any sense. And when you give people, and let me tell you something, forget about just them. Part of the reason that I always said our solution is political. Even before we said reparations, right? Specifically. The reason I always said our solution has to be a political solution. From day one, I've always said that. Is because if you don't say that, if you just get black people upset, if you just get the Black America and ADOS upset, and you don't give any constructive way to get out of that, then what you're doing, you got to give people constructive tools and you got to give people constructive calls to action. If you don't, I'm not saying what this Black Israelite group do. Maybe they were mentally ill. Maybe it's different. Maybe we don't know all the facts. But if you don't, something like this could happen because you enrage people and you don't give them a constructive call to action. And this America is not an America where you can be reckless or destructive or any of that. You have to walk a tightrope. You have to be intentional. You have to know your rights. You have to know what you can do, and how you have to be, and who you have to be, and what you have to know in this moment. This is not a moment to be wild and reckless. It may get you YouTube clicks, but it is not a moment for that. And it is not a moment to let people slide. It is not a moment to watch people year after year after year after year after year, get people upset, but never tell people what they have to do about it or what we're going to do as a group to do about it. I'm going to say this again because I think it's important. Political education has its role. We do it here. We do a book club here. We probably do more political education here than anybody. That has its space because that's what we're anchored in. The question, though, becomes, how do you go outside of that? When it's time to go outside of it. So you say, well, Yvette, we're going to go outside of it because we're not going to vote. We're not going to vote at all. And me and the people who follow me, we're not going to vote. Okay, if that doesn't work, if you come out of there and you didn't vote and it didn't work, you didn't vote for the referendum, you didn't vote for nobody, you didn't vote for nothing, you didn't even look at your ballot, you stayed home. So if you're not getting your people to even look at the ballot and engage politics, you are creating a disengaged group anyway. But let's say you do that. Then the question becomes for you. Okay, it didn't work. Now what? If that's a political tool, right? Because we're going to have to do it too. We all have to reassess what works and what doesn't work. We've seen Project Takeover already shut down a showing of the Harriet movie. We've already seen the language. If you want to see it, go to my Twitter of Congresswoman Ayanna Press talk about descendants of slaves. We already see Cory Booker talking about he's a descendant of a slave. He will be the only one in the White House. Now, we have the Democratic Party talking about it, and what they're signaling to us is that they don't want to do anything about it. And so that's what we have to tackle. But tackling that means being engaged. Even if you download the ballot and ain't nobody on there, and ain't no referendum on there, you were still engaged with that process up until the very end. So if you, No Face, or anybody else, the No Face YouTuber, if this is not what you want to do, you have to say you have to ask, well, what's your solution? What is your solution? Okay, y'all said it out last time and the time before that. Okay, what next? What comes next if it doesn't work? What do you do next? Because you can't just say, well, I just talk. I don't have any recommendations at all. Where are your recommendations? Okay. Here's the other one. Okay, what's the other one? Well, okay, Yvette, we're not going to vote. We're going to join the Republican Party. The problem is, and this is not me downing Republicans or black Republicans at all. The problem is you would have had to do that. The time at which if you were going to do that, the time to which to do that would have been like 80s and 90s, right? Before the Republican Party became the party of Donald Trump and went so far right wing that it gutted policies that black Americans use, that it gutted subsidies that we need, right? The way I look at it is that the party has gone too far to the right. And then you have this splintering of this whole group that's still with the Democratic Party and this group over here with the Republicans, which you have to have a very sophisticated kind of outlook if you're going to do that. Even that, if you were going to do it, that's going to take some time, and that's going to take a kind of coming together where we decide as a group, well, we're gonna do this because it works. And we're going to go here and go here because it works. That's not something that one group just decide that they're going to do. Right? You talk about, you see how Biden talked to all the races, all the Republican races. They were racist together. It wasn't just Democrats, wasn't just Republican races. They was racist together. They were more like one party. They were more like the same. I think that's the time where it works better. But we can disagree. But you still got to come to me with a counter solution. You still got to come to me with a countermeasure. You still got to say, this is why that won't work. You don't get to just say, I don't want to do this. I say sit home. You got to say, this ain't going to work because why? And this is what I recommend. See, my thing is, everybody is given. When Antonio and I came into this space, everybody was on us all the time. Where's your solution? Ain't nobody on nobody else about their solution. They're allowed to just talk. I don't like the double standard. So we had to have a solution, and we came up with one, whether you like it or not. This is the only thing that makes us whole. This is the solution. Let's work towards this. Let's have an agenda. Let's be an agenda-driven people who work towards this agenda. And I don't, this idea that, oh, you just like Democrats. No, I don't. How many times did we eviscerate Biden? How many times have we eviscerated Bernie Sanders? How many times have we eviscerated Elizabeth Warren and her college plan? How many times have we eviscerated all of these candidates? How can you say that we're shields for a party? No, we're shields for an agenda. And that's not a shield. That's what you're supposed to be. You're supposed to have an agenda for your specific group. We have an ADOS agenda. That's what we have. We have an ADOS agenda in terms of reparations and a black agenda with everything else. That's what we have, and that's what we're driven by. And what we're saying is we have one group which doesn't have any nearly Republican voters. They got a few black voters. And you have one group that can't get elected without us. What that means is that I have leverage in one group that I don't have with the other one. I have leverage in one group that I don't have with the other one. The Democrats need me. They need us. They need ADOS and they need Black America if they want to win the White House. We can make them lose. And we will. If we don't get what they want, we don't get what we want. They are finished. We will go and vote down ballot and they are done. But that's what a leverage is. You know, when you talk about when you talk about Reagan and the crack laws, 100-1, and what people even talk about with Clinton was a continuation of Reagan. That's around the time when y'all acting pretty similar. Too similar. And that's what a lot of people had an outcry about. The Democrats are becoming Republican light. And so the Republicans had to run to the right. Because the Democrats were like, you know what? This is how we're going to win. This is how we're going to win over white voters. We're just going to become more Republican. And we were over here like, hey, remember us? And Democrats were like, you can't go nowhere, no way. We'll win the White House because you can't go nowhere, no way. Now, we'll vote down ballot and you won't win the White House. You just won't. We'll find something to vote for, but we won't vote for you. You'll lose. If you don't like that, tell me what else you like. You don't get to just talk on YouTube. You don't get to only do docs. You don't get to not have a plan. And think that in the way this goes, that you're going to get to tear apart our plan when you have nothing. See, it's kind of like this. Let me just show you this real quick. Let me just show you something real stupid I saw on the internet. And y'all got to stop following people who are okay in life. I'm tired of this man. And I'm tired of him because y'all pay attention to an old TV judge. I'm tired of him because too many people, Yvette, Judge Joe. I don't give a damn. I don't care what he say. Why I care what he say? Did you ever get your money from CBS? I don't care. But listen to what he says. Beware, ADOS. The concept is being hijacked by the Demo Party. The supposed leadership of that which can't be led because it's a concept, not a lineage, is perhaps being hijacked. You don't get to tell us what it is. What are you talking about? Who are you? The connection of certain persons with Byron Allen is in danger of being turned into a DNC tool. Now understand that this man and everybody else just came into ADOS at the butt end of it and deciding that they're going to see that's what you're witnessing. People are trying to co-opt. A lot of people are trying to co-opt. Right? I saw your boy. You know who your boy is. Talking about what ADOS didn't really do and it say nothing really bad about Kamala. It was us. What are you talking about? You were an echo chamber. Like you were our echo chamber. That's what you were. And it was beneficial, but you were the echo chamber. But this man, let's get back to Judge Joe Brown. So what he's saying, let me just put it up again. I'm gonna put it up in the corner so you can read this nonsense. Because I want everybody just to, I just want everybody to understand. You have on one hand, what I do with it? But let me just say this. You know what he says. He done upset me. I lost my picture. You have on one hand him saying we're about to become a shield for the Democrats. We're about to become a tool of the DNC. Now, what he's saying is, your leadership should not ever communicate with the DNC. Wait a minute. Okay. So we can't communicate with the DNC, or we'll become a tool of the DNC. That's who we are. We're just little tools, and we just get filled up with whatever ideas. We can't communicate with the DNC. But then when I was on the board of PFER, I couldn't do that because I was a Trump shield, because that made me a Republican tool. So if in any way I try to position myself to talk to or influence influencers or policymakers, if I try to tell anybody in power, listen, this is what ADOS wants, this is our agenda, if I try to communicate that to anybody, on the left or the right, I'm a shield. We're a shield. Because we're talking to power. We're communicating to power. I don't know how you get anything done if you are not trying to influence powerful people and policymakers. I can't get nothing done talking to Judge Joe Brown. He ain't nobody. He ain't nowhere. He's an old man with a loud mouth and a whole lot of nothing to say. I don't care about him. Don't send me any tweet from him. I don't want to see some old retired man who this is his hobby. I don't care what he has to say. You have to talk to powerful people. I don't care where. Now, we want to leverage our stuff in the Democratic Party, but you have to be wherever you have. I'm not going, like, what? So, let me ask you this. Are we just going to shout at each other? So if we can't influence powerful people, if we're not supposed to have conversations with people who can influence policy and outcomes, we just going to write up agendas so that we can talk to each other and we can tweet to each other and we can communicate with each other? I'm trying to figure out, in terms of power and accessing power and grabbing some power for yourself, how does that make sense? Perfectly fine to say, you can't start taking money from them. You can't get bought out from them. You can't start passing off their talking points. You got to stick to our agenda, Yvette, the ADOS agenda. Perfectly fine to say that. Agreed. But you're supposed to have no access to power and powerful people. The question isn't whether or not you access powerful people. The big question is, what is the outcome? What was the result? Were you able to influence? Hopefully so, but you can't influence nobody you don't talk to. I'm just telling you. I'm just going to put it like that. So what was the next thing? And let me just say, some people, when you talk about reparations, and when you see people say, well, not necessarily, that's not what we need. And I don't, because Judge Joe Brown also said reparations is never going to happen. Probably never going to happen. Well, it's easy for him to say. He was a TV judge. From what I understand, somebody told me he comes from a lawyer family. How many of y'all that come from lawyer families? Like your daddy and your granddaddy was a lawyer. See, like people like that, I don't like. If I had even ever been on TV and I was a TV judge and I got a good salary and I got retirement, I would be quiet. Because this is the life that the rest of us are involved in. Health insurance costs in the USA are up 20%, 20.2% in the past year, according to CPI data out this morning. This was like 3 or 4 days. When was this? A few days ago? Now, hold on a second. Look at that bottom part right there. Now, healthcare is already the most expensive. See, the point I'm trying to make, you can't exist in this America, the wealthiest country in the world. You can't exist without money, and this stuff is getting more and more expensive day by day by day. And we don't have the time to keep fighting people who don't have any solution, who are just talking. And I'm not talking about most of the overwhelming majority of people in the chat, but I'm talking about some of y'all are just like, yeah, Yvette, what about what Judge Joe Brown said? What is up? What you messaging me that? Don't message me. What for? He's just a man talking on YouTube. I mean, Twitter. And there are a lot better people. There are a lot better people on Twitter. Like, why do y'all follow these people who just like, this is just like their hobby? Why do you? There are a lot of reporters and economists following all the wrong people. Gosh, so aggravating. So aggravating. But let me just, as I wrap this up, I want to say one thing. I put this up, and I can't remember the YouTube show I saw it in first, but I put this up on Twitter. And it says something that I found interesting that I've seen before. It said the most successful, when they're talking about, direct action, civil disobedience, the most successful ones that, let me make this big, let me make this a little bit bigger for you. The most successful ones, those that had their demands met, used forms of decentralized, nonviolent civil disobedience, large-scale direct action. The tipping point, Chenoweth and Stephanie, these were the people who did the study, found was to get 3.5% of the population involved. So what they really found was that society cannot withstand, any society, when 3.5% of the population gets involved, demands get met. And that's why we have been an agenda-driven people, and about increasing. That's why I always tell you, hit the like and do all that stuff, about increasing the number of people who are on this side. Because black people are 14% of the population. So you're always trying to increase the people who are getting involved. And listen, well, whatever work, well, whatever don't work, we do something else. We just keep moving. If this don't work, we do something else. But we're always going to put forth an agenda and a plan. I think we have to start asking ourselves and start asking other people, what is your plan? Okay, you don't like what Yvette and Tone are doing. Right? You don't care. You don't like it. You're not a fan of it. I got it. What's your plan? Okay. And let me tell you why that will or won't work. You can't be 10 years deep in YouTube. I was talking Black Agenda 7-8 years ago, but people weren't in a place to listen because they really thought Barack Obama was going to do something. We're in a different place now. You can't be here though just talking documentaries. That's the political education part. That's not the end. So if you are going to move in this space, and you are a leader in this space, people love to say, I ain't never say I was no leader. You are leading. You just don't want to take the responsibility of it. You want to abdicate responsibility. So since you are a leader and you love to talk about what you did and what you made happen and what you got popping, then be a leader. Show up. Show up in a real and meaningful way. Show up. If you want to be a leader, be that. Don't sit around and talk about everything you did and everything you made happen and how you got attacked for basically being a leader. And then when people say, you're our leader. Oh, no, I don't believe in leaders. I don't believe in leaders. Yeah, you don't believe in leaders, so you can sit back and chill out. But it's time out for that. Things are serious. So I think everybody is going to have to start making demands of people. You got to show up. You don't get to be on YouTube no more and not show your face. You don't get to be on YouTube no more and not do that. Everybody who shows their face on YouTube takes a risk because nobody forgets it. These videos never go away. You don't get to talk behind the screen. No, everybody who's leading in this space has got to show up. Don't act like you ain't leading because you said you was. You talk about everything you do and everything you make happen. Okay, lead. Show me a plan. Show me a political action plan. You don't like this? Okay, show me a plan. And a plan isn't just that, yeah, they talked about me over here. And they was dogging me out over here in this paper. And I remember when they talked about me real bad over here. And they said bad things about me. They was after your boy. They was on your boy. I don't care. Show a plan. So, fam, I'm gonna let you all have your word before I get too gone, before I fly too hot. And as always, we're gonna have the conversation. I want to hear what everybody has to say. Give me a few minutes to set up the phones. But fam, I just want to say, listen, before I go, one thing. I just want to say one more thing, because I think I forgot one thing I want to address. Other people, let me just address this before I go to the phones. Those of you who keep saying we have to start our own political party, we can't even move the party that we're in. The party that the majority of black people are in is Democratic Party. We have failed to get them, failed to influence them to make as part of their policy, as part of their agenda, reparations. And they need us to get to the White House. So you're going to start another party when you can't control the one or really influence the one in any meaningful way that needs you to get to the White House. And then the way it's situated, that requires money as well. The Koch brothers have a lot of monies, and they have been doing this. And it's not just them, but I thought I'd go get this old article just to kind of put it in context what they have. Before I go to break, let me just do that real quick. In 2008, one of the Koch brothers, it don't even really matter which one. It's just money. They might as well just be walking around dollar signs. Or do they have $1 million signs? Anyway, in 2008, he donated $100 million to modernize Lincoln Center's New York State Theater building, which now bears his name. He has given $20 million to the American Museum of Natural History, whose dinosaur wing is named after him. This spring, after noticing the decrepit state of the fountains outside the Metropolitan Museum of Art, Koch pledged at least $10 million for renovation. This man's going around like he giving out money for candy. Like you going to the candy lady and somebody give you $2, and it's a back in the day when candy was a penny a piece, and you about to go get 200 pieces of candy. Like that's how he's handing out millions of dollars. And let me just say this last little part. With his brother Charles, who is 74, David Koch owns virtually all of Koch Industries, a conglomerate headquartered in Wichita, Kansas, whose annual revenue are estimated to be $100 billion. $100 billion. The company has grown spectacularly, since their father Fred died in 1967, and the brothers took charge. The Kochs operate oil refineries in Alaska, Texas, and Minnesota, and control some of 4,000 miles of pipeline. Koch Industries owns Brawny paper towels, Dixie cups, Georgia Pacific lumber, Stainmaster carpet, Lycra, and many other products. Let me just tell you something. We don't have the money for a party. You want to change that? Do you saying that shouldn't be about money? You're right. That's Citizens United. That means you have to change the politics. We right back to politics all over again. See how we went right back to politics? See, we have people. We don't have the money. We have people though. So this has to be an agenda-driven, people-driven thing that we're doing. No, we're not starting. Let's start the black party. 35 pennies. Anyway, so now I just wanted to mention that. Now I'm going to break and we'll come back and I'll hear what you all have to say. Just give me a few minutes to set up the phone as usual and we will be back. what's up, fam? We are back. We are back. I'm going to go to the calls. I'm going to go to the calls. It's going to be a lot. Anyway, I'm going to my first call. I'm going to 252 252. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind? 252. What's on your mind?
Hi, this is Shakira. I'm from Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Hey, Shakira.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you
Hello?
fine. Mm-hmm.
Hi, I was wanting to talk about the Black agenda and what exactly that looks like for everybody, because I think that the Black agenda looks different for everybody, and I think that's one thing that we need to get on one accord on.
Okay. What are your thoughts on that? How does it look different?
So what would that be? What is that to everybody? Because I feel like Bernie Sanders is supporting things that I think would be beneficial to the Black community in a way that no other candidate is. So what direction do we go in if we all decide that we're just not going to vote and we're going to let Donald Trump come in and just have another 4 years? The way he's slashing food stamps, he's slashed food stamps 3 times in the last 3 years.
You do know that we have a Black agenda, right? Up at ADOS101.com, right?
And I just don't understand how that. No, I'm actually new to your platform, but I'm trying to get on one accord as far as all Black people, because Black people are just not on the same page.
Well, thank you, caller. I appreciate it. I want to thank you for calling in. But the page that we want everybody to get, and I understand that the caller's new, but the page that I want everybody to get on is ADOS101.com, where we try to express what ADOS believes our political Black agenda should look like. So, we want everybody to be on that page. That is the page that's the page that we want everybody to get on. Okay? Go into 310. 310, what's going on?
Oh man, stop me, man. Look, I wanted to call in and say a couple things. This is Tone Talk. I'm gonna keep it brief. It's a trip because I think there's some more elements to the show on what you're talking about. That guy. I've never really watched him. I think he did one show that I kind of watched because he covered my video. But the guy, Professor Truth or whatever, I never really watched him really. But what I did find is that he's highly conspiratorial. I watched parts of the video. We were talking about me.
Yeah.
I go to criminal court every day. I don't know if he had a personal issue. You can go look my license up. I'm on the California State Bar. That means that I passed the bar here, and that means that I went to law school and passed the bar. But he made a lot of statements around me that weren't actually driven by any facts. Well, if he's doing that here with me, and I know my life, and I know the truth of me going to court, and everything he says to me like that. So I don't understand why y'all watch something that if it's conspiratorial. But I do understand when I look at the wealth data. Because I think a lot of Black folks live in a space of fantastical, possibility instead of the reality of what politics makes you actually see. It's kind of like the example I've given before, how say an ugly person doesn't want to look in the mirror versus a beautiful person looking in the mirror all the time. Well, white people doing politics because they're seeing the impact and it's positive. Whereas we kind of just saying we don't want to do politics. I don't even know why these people, look, let's get honest, because everybody gets to, they allowed Nasheed to say popping and all that. Let's talk about this straight. The only reason that ADOS worked is because of our background. Just straight. Yvette worked on the Hill so long, and she worked for Democrats. So it didn't allow them to anchor this thing in some kind of like bad image, and they had a real problem with that. Also, she went to Howard. I'm an attorney that has an Emmy nomination. That's why this works. Period. The reason that Yvette could get on that board is because of her background. Being a Democrat, having a degree from Howard, being on the Hill. I'm not dealing with whether the board is good or bad right now. I want to see if a board asks somebody like Nasheed or the no-face guy to be on their board. This is a real conversation. I don't think you guys really understand like the exposure that I take on and that Yvette takes on because we're professionals. See, like when you're not a professional and you've just been running around doing whatever, or you don't show yourself, there's no impact on you saying anything that's wild. I don't speak wildly. I come back to my first point that I made at the top of this call. The guy said a bunch of stuff about me. Look, I don't even talk about it. I've had hundreds of thousands of dollars in checks to give to artists come to my house in a check that I gotta pass through me to give to my artist and then give me my money. This man don't know me. I'm saying to you that you can look me up out of any nomination. I don't understand how he the reason why it's not about me personally. It's more so saying if you're gonna say that Antonio, who we know is a lawyer, isn't a lawyer, I don't know how to really trust anything else that you say because you got a personal thing going on about your own successes in life. You got a personal thing going on about facts. And I'm just saying that I think there's a conspiratorial strain going on in the same vein that there weren't no slave ships, right? There weren't no slave ships, then when we find a slave ship, it's the only slave ship we found, right? Oh, there weren't no slave ships because we didn't come over here in slave ships. Well, if you believe that, just shut the hell up. And so, like, I'm just saying that I think we got to get honest that people are talking conspiracy. Now, the second thing is when I want to dig into something you were talking about earlier about the U.S. and standing up to the U.S. You know, when I went to South Africa, one of the things that got real interesting is how they are much more nuanced in their understanding of revolution and fighting and everything else than here. What was explained to me by the natives in South Africa, and I said it once before on your show a few years ago possibly, is what happened is when we had our Dr. King era, the nonviolent era, you know, people nonviolently protesting because they kind of had to because they didn't have the power not to. Instead of their group doing that, they went into the bush. Now, what allows them to do that is they're in an all-black like continent. Now, they're not in a first-world country. They're in a developing country. So what happened was they went into the bush, and when Mandela, that whole era that we saw, the people that while all people were doing nonviolence, going to church, they came out of the bush with weapons and skills, and they were going up against a developing nation in South Africa. A developing nation locked around with black folks. We live in America. On one side is Canada, and on the other side is Mexico. We live in America. We come from slaves in that country, have little to no wealth, have been locked out of wealth. We live in America. This is the first world nation with the biggest military empire possibly in the history of the world, definitely in modern times. We live in America, so nothing you're saying makes sense. When I say you're saying, I'm saying people that talk about like combating this nation with physical power. And I don't think that we understand that because we talk about South Africa and what they did without ever having gone there. And I'm just telling you, having gone there, they explain a whole different archetype of development, structural positioning, and power that goes on that doesn't apply to here. And I think for a lot of people, again, we talking in conspiracy so we can say anything. See, in conspiracy land, you can say anything. You can say, Antonio's not a lawyer because I believe that I know more. In what world do you know more than me, this faceless, squawk-faced man? Like, come on, man. I'm saying to you, fundamentally, you got to deal with the fact that people ain't showing who they are. They ain't standing up to the realities of saying, these are the facts. As they are, the facts as they are. What are we going to do about those facts within that realm? So when I say that, I mean, we know that black people vote 90% Democrat. But if black people vote 90% Democrat, how can we leverage that to get a positionality where we start to talk about reparations in the black community, particularly in an environment where they decided that they're going to talk about free education, they're going to talk about health care. The reason why we know that we doing that is because we know conversations beyond what everybody's talking about. And that brings me to the other point that I just want to say. I want to say this. Every 2 nights a week, Yvette brings in shows. She does the book club. And I feel like a lot of people are losing sight in. See, I think that there's so much criticism coming your specific way without enough criticism going other people's way. Our conference was $15. I don't care what excuse you make for why you can't deliver that. Our conference was $15. In the first 50 tickets was free. We didn't charge nobody to meet people. I don't know what you guys are talking about when you talk to me about anybody who wants to do it different. We doing a documentary right now. I don't have a GoFundMe up to get money from you to complete it. I'm saying to you, if you want me to, I'll put one up. But if I put one up, I accept it. You're going to probably judge me. But if you're going to judge me, then you got to judge anybody else who does that model. The guy that's no face, somebody showed me this somewhere, he was charging several thousand to meet him. A guy with no face and no background is going to charge you several $1,000s to meet him. Ask all the ADOS people at the conference how much I charge to meet me. What does that sound like? I'm saying this because now we got to get out of conspiracy and start doing politics. Because all that conspiracy talk leaves you in la-la land. I just want to leave it at that.
Appreciate it, Tom. As always, thank you for calling in. And I think the thing, let me just comment on something else that Antonio said. Like, sometimes that's wrongly interpreted as arrogance to say, oh, he's talking about his background, he's talking about Yvette went here. What we're talking about is the reason Tariq had to be the echo chamber, of this clone organization was because, like, I want you to think about it in an alternate universe where Tariq Nasheed creates ADOS. Now, forget about whether it's right or wrong right now. I just want you to forget about that because that will get you too charged up, depending on who you are. What do you think happens if, even if by some stretch of the imagination, he's saying the exact same thing that me and Antonio would have said, but we ain't nowhere around. He creates this by himself. He creates ADOS. Let's say if he did that, what do you think happens when reporters come around? What do you think happens when commentators come around? What do you think happened? Now, I don't think he could have done it, but let's just say he had. They just make it into a joke. Oh, Mr. Hotep, whatever, the Mr. Hotep, former pimp that started or whatever. It becomes like this running joke. It doesn't matter. See, we talk about us being a contagion to wealth and talk about money dying and it's not worth anything because it's in our hands. Well, ADOS would die in your hands, Tariq, because of what your hands are and have been, because you've been in the space of like doing anything to get money. You can't have a video out telling women to wash their ass and then say, now I'm going to build the reparations movement, because people will make you into this joke. They will make you fodder. They will make you into like, look at this. Like the same thing that happened when you was with them white dudes and he was talking to them and you started checking for answers on the internet. Like that will happen to you and that will happen to the movement. So I don't even know why you tried to pull so close. But what Antonio's saying is just like, any kind of serious movement dies in his hands because of what he's done to get here, which is kind of be an entertainer. Right? And that's not even criticism. That's just like what everybody knows is true but won't say. So I'm going to my next call. I am going to 732. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
What's up, Yvette Cardell?
What's going on? Doing pretty good.
Call from Jersey. Long time to talk to.
What's up?
Nothing much. So real quick, listen to your whole stream tonight. The first part of your monologue, you alluded to the situation up in Jersey City, and I was kind of struggling to get the connection with the rest of your monologue. Could you kind of sum that up for me real quick?
Well, what I'm saying is that
those different points.
Well, I don't know what was in those people's heads if they did what they said they did, right? But what I'm telling you is that if people aren't careful, people are going to do violent things, right? That aren't going to lead anywhere because they haven't been given a direction in terms of what I should be doing. So I'm really pissed off. You know, we live in the middle of white racism, and all the rest of this stuff is going on. I got to do something, and you haven't told me what to do as a leader. So I'm going to go figure it out for myself. So what I showed that to show, like, listen, there are certain things that to me look like flashpoints. I don't know what happened, so I didn't say a lot about it because I don't know enough about what happened. But what I'm telling you is that in the era of black identity extremists, any kind of violence like this perpetrated by any kind of black group is a problem.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm in Jersey. One of my best friends is a cop up in Jersey City. And I'm coming from this from the angle of aligning Hebrew Israelites as black identity extremists. And that's really kind of my real deep offense and issue with all this. You know, in one sect, it is a religious identity and a religious practice. Mm-hmm. In America, from what I'm told, we stand for religious freedom, et cetera, et cetera. So for folks that do practice that, you have a bad actor and you malign an entire group. That's really my issue with this whole thing, and I'm kind of wary of that. I'm kind of wary of that because of the moniker black, of course, in front of the Hebrew Israelite portion. So it's there's an opportunity for a means for this to, you know, spread out into other things.
Absolutely.
Every Hebrew Israelite I know, every Hebrew Israelite, every black Hebrew Israelite I know, from New York City down to D.C., I have never known them as a group to be violent or entertain violence. They'll argue down.
Let me say this.
Shout their beliefs.
Let me just say this, fam. Let me just say this, and then I'm gonna let you continue. I can only go from the people that I know. Every Muslim I've met is a non-violent Muslim. That didn't stop. Right. That didn't stop America from doing whatever America does, right? So,
absolutely.
So I'm not saying that black Hebrew Israelites are violent people. I'm saying that America's gonna do what America does. I haven't met. Now, I'm not saying that violent Muslims don't exist. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that, like, in the people I've come in contact with, it hasn't been that way. But how you get treated here is a whole other thing, and you have to be very, very careful. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, and that's what I wanted clarity on because I wasn't sure, kind of from the start, what that connection was. But yeah, that's what I'm seeing as well. You know, you take a bad actor and you malign a whole group, and that's my concern. Which there are a lot of, you already saw Trump talk about it. There are a lot of entities here. There are a lot of demographics here and ideologies that would love to take that and malign a whole group. And it's not just the black Israelites. So somebody else, one other black individual, a lone ranger could be out there and do something. And eventually you're getting into a very dangerous space. So it's not about the black Israelites or Hebrew Israelites and what they believe. It's about what can be taken by whether it's a lone actor over here or it could be a radicalized person over here that believes something very different in terms of their militancy. It doesn't ever have to be the truth. It doesn't ever have to represent the group in order to be taken in such a way that totally guts us and knocks us off our feet. That's my point. Gotcha.
Thanks, fam. I appreciate it. And I appreciate that I was able to.
I appreciate you.
No problem. I appreciate I was able to clear it up. No. I'm not talking about who they are and what they believe. No. I'm talking about what happens. I'm talking about how things get construed. And I'm talking about putting forth a politics that allows people who feel however they feel, disenchanted, angry, enraged, that allows them to be constructive. Because we go through a lot of rage. Now, I can't speak to what these people were feeling or what they did or why they did it. Maybe they were mentally disturbed. I don't know. But what I can say is I think we as adults in our capacity have to give people who are enraged because of America and because of racism, whatever they've dealt with, a constructive way to deal with that. I think that's part of our charge, right? And that's exactly what I'm saying. Let me get to the next call. I am going to 929. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
What's up, Yvette?
What's going on?
James in New Jersey. How you doing tonight?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm just here chilling, listening to your broadcast as usual, because I don't listen to everything you ever did, so I'm old school here.
They want us. They get a shirt.
So check it out. I'm here in New Jersey.
Okay.
And I'm really right down the street from Jersey City.
Okay.
I'm just a town away. But look, I happened to be passing by TV when this story broke, and I don't listen to the news all that much. I mean, I listen to see what's going on, but I'm not one to just sit there in front of the news hours and hours listening to the same story over and over and over, have them program me. But when I stopped to listen to the story, what it reminded me of, or what I thought about was, this doesn't make sense. I mean, it's everything they said is possible, but when you see the video, you hear the gunshots, you see all the SWAT teams, you see all the cops, but you don't see what's going on.
Okay.
And we don't know why these people did what they did. And some of the stories is like how it even began doesn't even make sense. The cop interacted with them at a cemetery. And
yeah, I saw them at the cemetery
about guns, and then it led to a chase, and then the chase, led them to the deli, and then the shootout happened, and then, oh, by the way, they're Black Hebrew Israelite extremists. It's like, okay, well, you know what? One or two of them could be with the Black Israelites, but I think they kind of setting that up because they want to use that to go after them. Or more so, not just go after them, but go after us.
Well, go after us too. And let me tell you something that was very cute. Let me tell you something that I saw in the article, and I think people need to be very concerned. I saw, and this was the neighbor talking, and I don't know the neighbor. The neighbor said, well, he was listening to Farrakhan. Okay? I think everybody needs to be very careful, because I have had my criticisms of Farrakhan, but like this is a bridge very far. So I think there's a lot of stuff going on here that people need to pay very close attention to, as like, even if that's true, like there's some people who listen to Rush Limbaugh, there's some people who listen to we have to kind of pump our brakes here. But I don't know what happened. I think we'll find out. It will be interesting. Somebody said there was a manifesto in a car. Did you hear anything about that?
No. But you know what, the cops can lie, right? The cops aren't legally bound to tell you the truth.
No, so, they are, but they don't. No, always.
they can lie to you. They don't have to tell you the truth. And they're the ones investigating themselves, right? So if there needs to be a manifesto in the car, there will be a manifesto in the car. You know what I'm saying?
Sprinkle a little crack on it.
Sprinkle a little crack on it, and that's it. That's how they roll. But let me just jump off of that for a second, because you said you wanted somebody to call in from Jersey to kind of talk to you about this shooting, but you also said you need solutions, right? I'm not, because I agree with you. You know what? I just sit here every Monday and Wednesday, and I listen to your show, and I'm like, okay, she's spot on. She's a professional. I'm a professional at what I do. I mean, I'm a cybersecurity engineer, and if that's what you need done, I'll get it done for you. If that's not your profession, don't step in my lane. You know what I'm saying? So I needed you
on the Digital Sister show. But go on.
Okay, so like the solutions. The solutions. It's not about starting our own party. The Democratic Party is good enough. The infrastructure is there. Everything we need is there. We don't all, and we have a large enough percentage of the population that we could leverage that and actually move the party in the direction where we need it to be. Because we saw, I watched the Tea Party do it with the Republicans. They weren't the majority. They moved that party, and they got what they needed, and we certainly could do that with the Democratic Party.
Absolutely.
But let me tell you this. We got to be prepared. ADOS, we have to be prepared to replace everybody that's there, because we can't be sure who's who and who they're aligned with and what their motives are. I mean, we see what their motives are because they're not really delivering for us. So we need a whole new crop of people who were raised up from us to represent us. We have to replace all these people, and that's your project takeover. We're not just taking over the Democratic Party, we're taking over the NAACP, we're taking over the urban, anything that's got to do with black people. If you're building an organization to get clout based on we're going to help black people, well, we're going to take that organization over.
Yeah, and
we're not taking it over as black people, as melanated people. We're taking it all over as ADOS people, as people who built this country, who are the black people that you're talking about. When America says black people, we know what you're talking about. You're talking about the people who you enslaved here and their children and grandchildren. That's what you're talking about when you say black people. That's me, and that's you.
All right, fam. Thank you. I appreciate it, fam. Thank you for calling in. And I appreciate people calling in from the area who talking about what they're... Because y'all heard a lot of stuff, thank you, fam, that we didn't necessarily hear. Local media always has a lot of information that we don't necessarily hear. I saw the car in the funeral parking lot, though. It was kind of convoluted. But you have to understand that we've already, in terms of our vote, 90+% for Democrats, the party doesn't exist without us, and we've already moved the party to start talking about reparations. Now we have to move them to like act on it. Like I don't think who sees that? Who sees that and then says, well, let's forget all that and go over here. Like if you have momentum, shouldn't you keep pushing that and twisting that and turning that and using your leverage? If your leverage means if they don't come through, then they lose the White House. But you use whatever. Your leverage is your hammer. Why would you try to go somewhere else and create a new hammer? I got a hammer right here. I'm going to hammer these Democrats. Why would I try to go over here and hammer somebody else? They going to tell you, Republicans going to tell you, I ain't did nothing to you. And they right. We don't vote for them. They don't owe us like the Democrats owe us. This is the hammer for them. And we've already moved this party to talking. Then nobody want to come in here and start talking about reparations. They certainly don't want to do it. That's what Digital Sister is signaling. That's what Joy Ann Reid is signaling. Like, we got to get these Negroes in check because the party has said they don't want to do no reparations. They're tired of these Negroes. We got to keep pushing. That's just what it is. Going to the next call. I'm going to 816. 816, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yvette Carnell, good afternoon. How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm wonderful, Miss Carnell. First of all, not going to take too much of your time, but you have to really consider the source. Tariq Nasheed aspired to be a pimp. In the beginning of all this stuff, his name was King Flex. And he aspired to be a pimp. So now you from here to politics. You can't take him serious. And the thing with us is, as a people, we're a little too divisive among each other. We got to be collective, and politics is the only way. The only way you win in America is through the political process. You don't gain anything beefing among each other. But that's what Joy Ann Reid counts on. She's a disinformation person. Every news station is controlled, and it's controlled against you and Tone. The reason you and Tone are ignored about ADOS is because you all have something to put on the table. Something for black people. A real, true political agenda. And that's what's feared of you guys. Sure, they have everybody talking about reparations. Mm-hmm. Joy Ann Reid talked about it. But the substance is not there. You and Tone have substance. Tariq Nasheed, they'll let him talk all day. He's been on CNN, and they laughed at him. When it all came down to it, he was laughed at. They made a joke out of him. And I think that popularity is like a pimp's gratitude. Popularity. Sure, he likes that. Sure, make a fool out of me. That's okay. I'm going to get that bag. You and Tone ain't asking for a dime. And I wish to God I missed that next conference. I wish I would. I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Because a black agenda in politics is what's necessary for us to succeed in America, period.
Yeah.
We're too far behind in the game to keep playing with each other and be divisive among each other. We need a collective mindset. And right now, Yvette, we just kind of floating in the breeze. I listened to Tariq's show the other night, and I listened to that man say that you all have been co-opted by the Democrats. And it was kind of sad. It was kind of really unfortunate for him to call you and Tony, oh, that's not that BS. He's found a way to monetize it. And wake up, black people. We have people that pimp us. They pimp our division. They pimp our dysfunction in America that was caused by slavery. We lived under the slave codes. We lived under Jim Crow laws. Those were on paper written down for black people to live by. That was policy. And the last time I checked, the majority of politicians in America are lawyers. Most of them are lawyers. Most presidents are lawyers. Donald Trump is not a lawyer, but Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, they're attorneys. That's who I need speaking for me. Not somebody who aspired to be a pimp. The first time I saw Tariq, he was at the Players Ball with a shiny suit on and polished nails. And you and Tone are too classy to speak on him, so let me do it. Let your audience do it. He was a pimp. He wanted to be a pimp. And that's all I have to say, I thank you for your time, man.
No, I thank you.
Go right ahead. I've talked on it. Be encouraged, young lady. Be encouraged. You got real solid people out here that's listening.
Appreciate
paying attention to public policy. We listening.
Thank
it's not a game out here with all the nonsense and you and all the BS and co-opted by the Democrats. That dude is pimping black people. And yes, he did a good thing with Hidden Colors. The videos were good. You can verify the information, a lot of it. But at the same time, now we make slides and we making music. We got an album out. We making R&B music. We make slides. So, like I said, ma'am, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And,
thank you, fam. I appreciate it.
It's all good. It's all good. We're too divisive among each other. It's disappointing to see because gentrification moves on while we divide it. Gentrification's still stepping around my town.
Yeah. It's a lot stepping around our time. It's a lot stepping around. Gentrification.
Go ahead, man. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
No. I'm just saying. No, I was agreeing with you. It's a lot stepping around. And I, one of the things I tell people all the time is I anticipated some division and some people are going to be upset, but I thought people were going to be upset about tactics. I don't know if I expected this level of dissent. But what I realize is that there are a lot of people who, if they convince you that, if they convince you that your liberation doesn't come through politics, it comes through your next purchase from what they're selling. There are a lot of people who want to keep you just making that purchase. And if you stop making that purchase and really get involved in politics, say, I did that and that's great. And I'm happy I contributed to what you were doing. I'm happy I bought Hidden Colors 1, 2, 3, 4. But I'm going to do some other stuff in addition to that. And I'm not going to focus solely on this. I think they're like, no, I don't want you going to do politics. I don't want you going to do that. I want you to stay over here with me. And I want to laugh and talk. And everything is fine to laugh. We got to laugh sometimes. But if that's what you do, if you make people laugh or whatever, sometimes I make people laugh here. That's fine. But you got to understand that we have to be in this political arena in a serious way. And, I don't know why people don't understand that.
Well, you know what I'll say? You said, why don't we understand it? Our minds are so scattered. We're so scattered. It's just we got everything going on. We're worried about this. But like I said, while we worried about this, that, and the other, white supremacy's gentrification is moving on. They still locking up black men in record numbers. It moves on. While we fighting with each other, they lockstep bouncing right on ahead. And we're going to be behind.
I agree, fam. I want to thank you for calling in, though. But I agree with you. I mean, at some point, thank you, fam. I think we're going to have to have a come to Jesus meeting or something, And the problem, I don't know. There is no with a lot of people, there is no, I'm going to put this aside for the sake of people like, Yvette, why are you still talking about this? Because I hear he's still talking about us and saying stuff that's not true. Gosh, why don't you just you still just trying to co-opt it? And why? If it's good, if something is good for ADOS, even if I don't like it, I just leave it alone. That's why I left Tariq alone. He was echo chambering what we were saying. That's fine. That's beneficial. People were everybody was like, why Yvette, why you letting him talk? He's a hotel. He uses bed wench language. No, I'm gonna try not to be divisive. I did everything I could not to be divisive. But I can't let you go calling opportunity zones he's talking good stuff for us now. And then Antonio says, hey, pump your brakes, and all of a sudden you go do a whole video. That's not how we do things. That's not on code. Anyway, going to Going to where am I going next? 813. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yes, my name is Sam Harris. I'm in Central Florida, and what's on my mind, I want to thank you, Yvette, for all that you do, you and Antonio. I think it's amazing. I got 3 points that I would like to make. Number one, politics is a bunch of trickery, and the only way we can win that game is that we have to own stuff. We have to get black men and women owning businesses and owning property. And until we have ownership of things like that article that you were showing in the beginning of your show with the Koch brothers, where they business earned $100 billion, and you had all the brands listed that they own, that's where the power is at.
But we have 2% of the wealth though, fam. We have 2% of the wealth.
I know that we only have 2% of wealth, but we got to get more. And instead of us focusing on all the things that don't matter, we need to be focusing on building wealth in our communities by owning land. Land is the basis of wealth. When Malcolm X was talking about being independent and black liberation,
but do you understand? I'm gonna let you finish, fam. I'm gonna let you finish. You know, I'm gonna let you finish. But Malcolm X lived in a different era. Do you understand that like they were talking about these people, they have like 180 billion. So we need 180 billion to compete with the Koch brothers. Like and the land is already owned. It's not like you can just be like, well, go give me this land without a reparation. See, that's what reparations is. I don't think people understand. Reparations is giving us ownership of the stuff that was stolen from us and the stuff that we didn't get in terms of labor. We didn't get paid. We got bottom casted. We got pilfered. It's paying that back so we do have something. I don't think we understand.
Right.
I don't think we understand that just saying we have to own something with no money and I don't think we understand. You know, you have to go to Antonio Moore and Darity's report to understand that, like Dr. Darity's report, like the myths of closing the racial wealth gap, to kind of understand that what you're saying, it sounds good, but it's not possible.
Well, I believe everything is possible, Yvette. I mean, there were many people that said there were a lot of things that were not possible. But the impossible is always possible when you believe and when you can work together and get people on the same page. What you're doing with Adolf, you gave us a platform to be able to come together and focus on an agenda that can help us close that gap. But we have to believe with each other that can happen. It doesn't matter what it looks like on paper. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. What matters is we focus and try to change this narrative. I believe in reparations. I believe in reparations wholeheartens. But when I'm traveling from city to city and I'm seeing black communities on life support, when I see black men and women businesses that are trying and they're struggling.
Yeah, they're struggling for a reason, though. They're struggling.
They're struggling for a reason because we took flight and we're not supporting those businesses. We have this old adage that you can't.
No, they don't have access to capital.
That is not true.
No, these businesses don't have access to capital. It's not us. They don't have access to capital. See, they could be Kroger. They could be Safeway if they had access to capital that wasn't predatory. They don't have access to capital. This is what happens when you don't have access to capital.
But we do have access to capital. We need to use our own capital. Stop spending the money buying Nikes. Stop buying Cadillacs. Stop buying Mercedes-Benz.
When last time you seen a Cadillac? When last time you seen a Cadillac? When last time you seen a Cadillac?
I see them all the time. I see them all the time.
Let me just. I'm just gonna leave you.
Everywhere I go, I see black men and women driving Mercedes-Benz and Cadillacs.
They're driving them on credit. They driving them on credit. Don't nobody own that.
Exactly. But what we have to do, where our wealth is gone,
that's not wealth. Credit is not wealth. Credit's not wealth. That's not wealth. When you say where our wealth is going, that's not wealth. That's credit.
I'm not talking about credit. That's why we don't have wealth. The reason why we don't have wealth is we're buying things on credit. We need to be having things that
No. Hold on a second. You just told me that these people who are in Mercedes are representative of people how we squander our wealth. When I tell you that that's not wealth that they have, that Mercedes is not wealth. You say, well, that's how we don't have wealth. That's kind of a circular, kind of odd argument. But I have to let you.
No, it's not a circular argument. If you are,
I gotta let you go. I'm sorry. I can't do it because, and I'm not upset with you, but you have to go all the way back to politics 101. I'm not upset with you at all. I just can't go through everything that I've had. We've led up to this point. We've already litigated that. That's what I'm saying. And maybe this caller wasn't here or there when we litigated. This is America. In America, you get wealth two ways. Like, right? For the most part. Come on. You snatch it or you get it through politics. Right? We can't snatch nothing, so we have to get it through politics. We're not in the era of Rockefeller and white, because you would have had to be situated during that era or during the era of Bill Gates and white and upper class. We're not situated during the era as white people with an opportunity to build wealth. We were the thing that was used to make wealth. And there's no amount of, you can't, like, if you don't buy 2 pair of Jordans, let's say the highest is, some of the more expensive Jordans are $250, right? If you don't get that shoe and you save 2 pairs of shoes and you save $500, you're not competing with the Koch brothers. I don't care if everybody in your community does it. You're not competing with these men who own industries. They don't just own one company. They're not even like the people who are running politics now aren't just multimillionaires. It's multimillionaires and billionaires. You don't compete with that with an idea that we can do X, Y, and Z. Now what we can do is we can get together and compete politically. And because we still have a vote, as long as, they're trying to snatch that from us, but we still have that, and we still can revoke that vote and say, we're going to vote down ballot. You're going to lose the White House. You don't give us what we want. You're losing that White House. You're going to give it back to Trump. You don't give us what we want. We can do all of that. I don't think you understand America now, and you're going based off of this kind of belief. I believe it. It's in my soul. Yeah, but that's not it. That's not it. And we've litigated that time and time again. We've had this conversation time and time again about why that's not it. You have to have access to capital. These people have had access to capital that is not predatory. Do you think these businesses made it themselves? But you have to go back and read. You have to go back and watch all the other videos. You have to go back and read all the other studies to kind of figure out what's the difference. I'm not gonna take too much time, and I apologize for cutting the call off, but I'm not gonna take a lot of time relitigating something I've already litigated dozens of shows ago. And dozens of shows compiled. So I'm going to my next caller. I am going to 240. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, how you doing? This is Johnny. I'm calling out of D.C. I wanted to touch on the shooting up in New Jersey with the Hebrew Israelites and how it all plays into Project Takeover. Saying like black Hebrew Israelites is kind of like saying white European American. Israelites are Negro people. There's a gentleman by the name of Ronald Dalton. He does a really good job of explaining the linguistic, DNA, and historical archaeological history that proves our lineage even past slavery. But that's another day. Most Hebrew Israelites would be right on board with what you're talking about as far as the reparations, because we do believe that we'll be coming out of here with much substance, as written in Genesis 15, chapter 15, verse 13.
Okay.
And we believe that we're here in the land of our enemies, like Zechariah 11:5 says, that they'll shoot us down in the streets and call themselves not guilty. But how it goes in is to get on code. Because if we all get on code with the Torah, which is our belief is a code that we love one another as a people, we have to then go into these Christian churches that are brainwashing our people that, we are not to look at our own group above other groups. And that's not what the Bible teaches us. The Bible teaches us that all the other nations are against us, as it says in Psalms 84. But we have to come together and organize and love one another above other groups so that we have a self-love for our own groups. And that's what the Bible is really teaching us. And it teaches us group economics. that we need to start spending with one another. Even if it's someone with a little soap business, and they're making soaps, hustling on the side. We need to support one another, even in those small endeavors. And I think that's what the gentleman who was called before us was really trying to touch on, like that self-love, just to support one another. And it all builds together by getting organized in the body politic, like you're speaking of, because we have to be able to organize together. Like, how about we do like quarterly video chats where like local YouTubers and ADOS groups from around the nation organize, and we meet like on a book night, so we all like just streaming it live.
Oh, I think
right?
that's
We
good.
get the agenda down. We start talking about local issues. Like, we really start organizing nationally.
I
think
have no problem with that.
We could possibly do that.
I don't have any problem with that. I think that's positive.
Yeah, and I really appreciate what you've been doing, Yvette. You guys are putting in major work. We were down there at, for the Byron Allen. I wanted to take my girls down there, but my oldest daughter had a test. But we will be at the next month function and meeting. But I think with each local chapter getting more organized, and then we all organize nationally, right? And then we can really start making noise.
Well, see, and I don't have any. Let me just say this, because I didn't know where you were going, but I don't have any problem with like self-love in terms of collective self-love or group self-love. I don't have any. I think that's actually good. We've all, one of the things that I talked about on this show is that, like, we're a group, we're a tribe, and like a tribe has to put itself first. So I don't have any issue with that. The issue I had with the last caller is I don't have any problem if I walk by an ADOS person, whatever, who has a business or whatever. I don't have any problem supporting, but I understand the limitations of that support based on what has happened and what that person has been robbed of, and how they won't be able to scale because of how America was built and what America was built on. That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
so
yes.
yeah, so I don't.
He needs to go back and watch some old videos. That's what he needs to do. Educate himself.
Yeah, so that's all I was saying. But I agree with that.
Project Takeover, because if people really do the research and, like I said, look up the guy Ronald Dalton, they'll see that the Project Takeover, we need to do it in these churches as well. Because
I said that, yeah.
These old pastors in here robbing our grandparents and our aunts and uncles for all their money and just living their salary. That's not what the Bible teaches.
Yep. No, I've said that too. I said that the church is one of the institutions. Like NAACP is an institution. Yeah, the church is an institution. And instead of running away from the church and saying like the pastor, he's just a greedy dog. I agree with you a lot of times. But like, go in there and take it. You just can't. You just
take it over.
Yeah, take it back. He's there because he's the pastor. The greedy dog pastor is there because you ain't there. You ain't there to give him no trouble, so he got a bunch of little old ladies who just love to hear him talk and love to hear him say something that ain't true. If you go up in there, it becomes a problem. It could become a problem if any of us go in there as learned people. But especially some of you men who you watch NFL on Sunday, you might want to go up in there and figure out what your wife and your auntie and your grandmama and them is doing with their money. Like, I'm just saying, and who they giving it to and what they doing with the money. Like, these are things, because I think the church is part of Project Takeover. And if you're not in the church, that's fine. I'm not judging nobody, because I get emails. Yvette, I'm the atheist. I love you no matter what you are, and you are welcome. I'm just talking about it in the sense of the church being an institution. I'm not ostracizing you, so don't get your feathers ruffled.
I think that's where the Hebrew Israelites come in, because they teach actually what's actually written in the Bible as far as lineage and who we are as the characters in the Bible, as those of our ancestors being those who wrote it. And that's the important part for taking that institution over, because then it gives us a direct reparations claim against the Catholic Church as well, because then they have no authority to even teach religion, because then they would owe us for actually robbing us of our heritage. That's the next step, though. That's down the line. But keep on working, Yvette. We're right along here with you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. I am going to my last call of the evening. As always, the calls is always lit, but I'm going to be going to the last call of the evening. I am going to I am going to who's the person who on here who hasn't called. I'm going to A62. A62. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hello, Yvette. How are you? Jonathan Edwards calling back again.
What's going on?
I'm good. I currently live in North Carolina, but I'm from New Jersey. Lived in New Jersey all my life.
Okay.
And I wanted to touch on that New Jersey situation.
Okay. Touch on.
Jersey City is a very complicated city.
Okay.
Large ethnic diversity, but very segregated and pocketed.
Oh.
You have Italians there, you have blacks, you have Jews, you have all the culmination of a lot of personalities and a large Spanish population there. You have both Cuban and Puerto Rican. And there's always tension there. And one of the main reasons for that tension is because it's a stone's throw away from New York City.
Okay.
So there's a big push for the real estate of Jersey City. Because from Jersey City you get to look at the New York City skyline. That's the best view of the New York City skyline.
I didn't know that. I did not know that.
City. Huh. Yes, it is. And actually, the Statue of Liberty is in Jersey City.
Okay. Huh.
Right? So you have all of this money that's being pushed into Jersey City and moving people around through gentrification. And one of the biggest fights in that area is with the Jewish landlords that own a lot of the property in Jersey City. So I'm not going to weigh in on the Hebrew Israelite side of the game, or it was a Jewish deli. I'm not getting into any of that, because that just opens up a Pandora's box and you go down that rabbit hole and you'll never come out. But Jersey City's a hotbed. Jersey City's always been a hotbed.
So it's a tension. It's a lot of tension. There's a lot of racial tension over there and stuff like that. Gentrification, all kinds of stuff.
A lot of tension. You have older black people that have been living there since the Civil Rights era. They have homes that sit near the waterfront that are dilapidated but valuable. Then you have these high-rises that are going up, that are being funded from outside. And the people that are moving in are the people that used to live in New York, where it costs you $8,000 a month, so they moved to Jersey City for $4,000 a month.
Ah. Okay.
And they have a better view than they did when they were in Central Park. So there's a lot going on. If you said Jersey City, I had to call.
I appreciate it. No, I appreciate it, because I didn't know any of that. I didn't know any of that.
Newark, Jersey City, Newark, East Orange are hotbeds because of transportation access to New York City, the views, the property values, the value in relative comparison to being in New York City. I mean, from Jersey City, you can walk to New York City.
All right.
You could catch a train and be there in 5 minutes. You have a pass station right there. If the train, you have the ferry. You have all these things that are very attractive to the power elite of New York City.
Okay.
But it's owned and controlled by a certain group of people, and they're displacing another group of people.
That's a great line to end on, fam. That's a great line to end on. We should, one of the projects that might be an interesting project after this is to look at gentrification and a lot of stuff in Jersey City, and to figure out that may be an interesting project.
It's pretty much almost over.
They finished it.
They done. Listen, they got high rises right on the places that used to be old riverfront, dilapidated properties are now $1 million high rise properties. They're charging $8,000-$10,000 a month for, right next to a ghetto. So the ghetto has to go.
Yeah, you can't be here. We ain't paying that kind of money for that.
Can't be here.
Yeah.
They're not paying that kind of money for that. And I wanted to weigh in on a pimp named used to be Slickback, Tariq Nasheed. I knew he was going to be a problem for ADOS because of his history. And his history, I'm not going to judge a man for making an error in judgment early in life as a young man to try to chase some money. I'm not going to do that. What I will do is I will look at intellectual property. He's created no intellectual property. He stole everything that he learned about pimping from a previous pimp. Then once that didn't work, he came into the quote unquote, I don't like to use the Hotep circle, but he came into that circle and just co-opted a bunch of already established doctors and historians, and he just gathered all their stuff up, packaged it together, and calls it Hidden Colors. There's no original intellectual property coming from this man anywhere. Everything he has is he just sweeps stuff up in a pile for people.
Sweep stuff up in a pile.
And then that's all he did. He just swept stuff up in a pile and said, look at this nice pile of intellectual property I have for you guys. I'm going to call it Hidden Colors. And I'm going to do it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And then when that no longer bears fruit, let me find something else. This ADOS thing looks good. Let me get in there and see if I can't try to create me a little fundraiser and try to put me together a little meet and greet. But y'all beat him to the punch. You beat him to the punch. You had the conference too fast. You got it done too quick for him. So immediately right after you do your conference, now he got to do another conference, but his conference is going to be more highline and more fabulous and more expensive. He's a part of the decadent veil. He's like the Jay-Z of the ADOS movement. And he showed himself so early. I said, this dude getting ready to do some of that flim-flam flooring. And that's what he did. Now that it didn't work, now we've got to tear you down. Yvette works for the Democrats, and Tone ain't a lawyer, and everybody jumping on your board. Can you dig? No, I can't dig, bro. Go sit down. We're not paying for your house. We're not paying for you to go back and forth to Europe. Every time I turn around, you're so black. Every time I turn around, you're in Europe. What's the problem? You can't find Africa?
Well, he went to Swahili. No, Zimbabwe he went to, wasn't it? Zimbabwe?
He went to Zimbabwe, but then another one he was over in Spain somewhere, and then another time he went on a vacation. He was in, God, I'm sick of him. Go away, people, go away.
But the thing is, like now the move is to like co-opt it. It's like it's funny to me. People always say like, well, Yvette, you have to work with him. It's like, no, he was an echo chamber for us. There is no working with him. There is no him in terms of like ADOS. What he did was clone ADOS and echo chamber for ADOS. There's no working with him. It's not like he was a different party and so we both had different views and we had built our own things. And no, you didn't have your thing. You were just like no vote. Then we came and we put this all together with data and string everything together. And people are like, well, he has his thing, and no, he doesn't have a thing.
Whatever. And he took his thing and the ADOS thing, and he just swept it up in a pile for everybody.
Yeah.
See, he's got a group of people that have fallen in love with his charisma. He's very charismatic brother, looks well, speaks well, always popping. I mean, he carried a little of that pimp energy forward into his intellectual pile sweeping game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sometimes all we need. We fell for that with Obama. We just needed somebody that looked smooth.
Yeah.
there were far more educated black men that were more qualified to be president than Barack Obama. But we needed somebody that had a little swag and a little dip. And we fell for the okie doke. And that's what we did with Tariq Nasheed. We kind of let him, because he was saying and moving in a certain way, and he was doing what we thought was the right thing by echo chambering everything that you and Tone was saying. I was watching him, and I'm like, he's putting together a scam, because it's coming. The bag game is never late. It's always about the bag with him. Everything he's done has been about the bag.
Yeah.
He live in a $3 million house with Hidden Colors money. Where's the school you? Well, you could have gave some of that money to the other dude. What's his name?
Umar Johnson. Yeah.
Yeah. Why you and Umar didn't get together? Y'all are two preeminent black leaders in this historical thought process. Why you ain't take your $3 million house money and put it with Umar money? Because you don't care about what Umar doing. You care about you and your family and your little cute little kid. That's all you care about. And I understand that. As a man, you're supposed to protect your children. But don't come out here and steal in the name of blackness.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it.
That's what you do.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, it's always something. Riding that wave.
Girl. Don't
Appreciate it. Appreciate it, fam. I appreciate it. I ain't stopping. What they said. Thanks, fam, for calling in. Isn't that what they said? What was that? Dog. What was that? Remember I love Cat Williams. I wish he was all right. But remember he was on that tricycle or something, they arrested him, and they said they tried to pull him over, and he said, I ain't stopping. I ain't stopping. That's what I say. Anyway, fam, we're closing out on that call, fam. I apologize if we didn't get to you this evening. You know how it is. But please, before you leave, hit that like button. I'd appreciate it. Please subscribe if you have not subscribed. Please smash that bell so that you get notifications if you just happen to land up in here and it just got recommended to you and you don't know where I came from. So it's what it is, and you just hear. So, and also go to donatebrown.com if you want to donate, or patreon.com/ycarnell, or the newsletter is in the description. If you have not received the newsletter and you are subscribing for it, please send me an email at editor@breakingbrown.com, and make sure you search your email for editor@breakingbrown.com, because sometimes it goes to those spam folders, right? Or the promotions folders. That's a whole new folder where people send you stuff to buy stuff. It's real. Well, anyway. And fam, please do not forget, They Were Her Property. January the 30th is when we'll be having the book club for this one. So January the 30th, please do not forget to tune in. So we can have that book club and enjoy ourselves and talk about political education and talk about history and all that good stuff, fam. Until next time, fam, please finish your libations. Please finish your tea, your Coca-Cola, your water. If you had an alcoholic beverage, finish that too. It won't be the same tomorrow. So fam, do all of that, and I will talk to you. I'll see you next time. Okay? Be easy. Take care of yourself. Remember, self-care is important. You don't have to be on Twitter all the time. Sometimes you just got to pour yourself a bubble bath. So do that, fam. Take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't fight tomorrow. You just wear yourself down. And until next time, fam, just take care of yourself until then, and do self-care until our next show. All right? Bye, fam.